Okay, we're back. We're live. We're here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy, with Shalanda Baker. She's an associate professor of law. She's also the associate director of the environmental law program and the energy law program at the William S. Richardson School of Law. We are delighted to have her on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And my co-host Ray and I will find out what's going on up there in energy, which is, you know, I wouldn't say it's new, but the existence of a special program about it is new. Okay, anyway, before we get heavily involved in that, we're going to talk to Lily Koo, and she is doing our Negawatt moment today. Welcome to the show, Lily.
Thank you, Jay.
So you're going to talk about Hilton Hawaiian Village. How in the world has Hilton Hawaiian Village got to do with energy efficiency? Tell us.
Well, we've recently presented the largest incentive check to Hilton Hawaiian Village. That is $470,000 in our Hawaii energy history.
They need the money.
Yes, they have a lot of properties over there, and there are two major projects they have done. One is a lighting project, and they have basically retrofitted a lot of the old halogen bulbs and incandescent bulbs into LED, which is really hot right now. And I believe they have like 14,000 LED bulbs installed, as well as lower wattage T8 with high performance ballast installed over there. So another project they have done is the air conditioning improvement by replacing by replacing energy efficient fan coil motors. And those fan coil motors are basically acts like a variable speed type of motor, and what it does is it runs less, or it runs as needed, as compared to traditional motors that runs constantly. So those are the two big projects.
Now, are these projects for all of the hotel buildings, and I guess there are other buildings too, in the Hilton Hawaiian Village? Because at least one or two of them are very nearly brand new. Did this project include them too?
Not really. They're for the existing properties, not for the brand new properties. So, and for energy savings, they save 1.8 million kWh, as well as, which is equivalent to $710,000 in energy savings. So, you know, with that much savings, they can actually reinvest it back into their maintenance or energy efficiency equipment.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, let's turn you over for cross-examination by our guest. We extend the opportunity to cross-examine all of our Hawaii energy efficiency issues to our primary guest. But you can give them soft questions if you want.
Let's see. I'm wondering if Hawaii Village is a leader in this regard, or if it's a part of a larger trend that's happening in the city and state.
I would say they are part of the larger trend, because there are a group of really large hotel groups that have been doing it, but Hilton, you know, being such a big property, of course, you know, they are trying to lead the rest of the smaller hotels to do energy efficiency projects also.
Okay, Dr. Ray.
Well, and I might just add, I think this is just the first phase. They've got more phases coming to retrofit other things there, but these were big hitters.
Yes.
That's why the big check. So it was a great opportunity for us, as well as Hilton and their future customers, because it keeps the cost down.
Well, suppose I wanted to get the benefit of this particular incentive, and I went down there and bought maybe 20 acres of land on the beach in Waikiki and built myself 3 or 4 major, hotel towers. Would I have the benefit also?
Definitely. Actually, our program...
It's worth doing.
Our incentive programs apply to both new construction as well as existing construction.
Now you do raise a point, though. You have to be a customer of the Hawaiian Electric companies, which is because the funds to do this come from the ratepayers paying a small fee on their monthly bills, and that's the main criteria for you to participate in the program. If you pay into this fund, you can participate.
One last question. I mean, so it sounds like this is like a breakthrough of some kind, because it's a large upgrade to LED. But what about the rest of Waikiki? Are they soon to follow? Are you working on them? You want to make a call right now? You want to get these
I'm
guys?
definitely working on them, and I'm also working with, DBAT, the Green Hotel Forum, and a lot of the smaller hotels are slowly following the pace. And if there is any questions about it, they can always call me, or they can also check out hawaiienergy.com, or call me at 839-8880, 839-8880.
I heard that. They'll all be calling you now, Lily. One last thing comes to mind. We do bulbs here in the studio. We like LEDs a lot. But when we go looking for LEDs, we find that they're much more expensive than incandescent. They're still yet more expensive than, what is it? CPL?
CFL.
CFL. What do I know? Energy show. And there's another one that's very bright, that they're more expensive than that too. In fact, if you look down the shelf, of all the bulbs that are in the stores, you will find that LEDs are still the most expensive of any bulb you can buy. So, say I have to spend like $30 for an LED bulb, and you're standing under one right now. How much of my $30 can be supported by this program?
See, we have an incentive between $9 or $10 to be given back to you for businesses if you spend like $30 on the bulb. So with that, with the energy savings, you can basically probably get the payback within 1 or 2 years.
That's pretty good, because actually that brings it down to just over a CFL.
And not to mention that the LED lights last a lot longer than even the CFL light bulbs. So paying a little bit more now gets you a lot more time to have these lights operate and save you energy. And I was just looking up there. I remember when you had just the regular incandescent bulbs.
Burn your eyes out,
Well, it would really heat the room up.
Cook an egg.
And did you apply for any of our rebates?
No, but gee whiz.
Now, we can't do it retroactive.
Oh,
But,
Let's make a deal right
but
here.
if you want to buy new ones or additional ones, then
doesn't matter where I can buy them mail order. Doesn't matter.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
That's good to know. Sometimes it's good to have these shows. You learn stuff that applies to your own situation. Well, I want to say also in further support of LEDs that not only are they more energy efficient and they don't use nearly as much wattage. I mean, it's a fraction of any of the others really. Well, CFLs are close, but there's something else, and I know this because I have gone shopping. With LEDs, you can get all these variables. You can have all kinds of temperature, Kelvin temperatures, and you can have all kinds of lumens and wattage. I mean, there's an enormous number of them on the market from one side to the other. So if you, for example, wanted to create a mood in a hotel room, you have lots of options that you would not have with any other kind of bulb. So that's another incentive.
Definitely. LED is viable and excellent applications these days, and we see a lot of them.
Okay. Thank you, Lily Koo.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Hawaii Energy. Wonderful. You guys do great things, not only for us, but for the tourist industry, too.
Of course.
Okay. Alone again.
Yes.
Okay, Shalanda.
Yes.
This is a fabulous program. We were talking before the show about how we need to have more lawyers trained in energy issues here in Hawaii. It would help the industry. I mean, lawyers facilitate business. You have to have lawyers who are skilled in the area. You'd rather have them coming out of school. It's still very fresh that way.
Right.
And there are only a handful of lawyers. We were naming them before the show. Only a handful of lawyers in the city and the state who know anything about purchase power agreements and all those things, and the PUC, and it's energy and the PUC. So and most of them have been, what do you want to call it? They've been wedded to the utility,
Right.
which means they
Conflicted.
can't represent parties against the utility. So you know they get tied up that way.
Right.
And that's why we need to have, you know, lawyers who are more lawyers so they don't get in conflict, so they can represent any side to the transaction and thus, you know, give everybody a fair break. And that allows for what amounts to a market process. And if you have a market process where all the players, you know, have equal legal power, so to speak,
Right.
you're going to have a better market.
Right.
At least theoretically, in my understanding of it. So that's why we are behind your program all the way. Happy to see it here.
Great, thank you. Well, I am so happy to be here, and you know, I think we're responding both to a need within the energy industry here in Honolulu and Hawaii, but also to student demand. You know, I think
Interesting. Okay.
absolutely. I think our students are very aware of the dynamism of the energy world. I mean, globally, energy is the hot topic, and certainly within Hawaii, energy has been all over the news, and the transition that we're making within the state has been, you know, on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Yeah, not without its wrinkles, though.
Are there any wrinkles? I wasn't aware of them. Couple things going on,
I
right?
will
Welcome
send
back to
you
every
that
Wednesday.
article. I'll send it to you too, Ray. There was an article that crossed my desk about what was going on in Germany and how renewable energy in Germany had not realized some of the goals of the German regulators, and it's really, and economy. And it's really interesting. I mean, this is a bunch of think tank guys in Germany made this report, and it's a very interesting article and useful for us.
Definitely.
You can't make any big assumptions about how, for example, solar is the panacea for everything.
Right.
It hasn't been here, really. You know, it's been a big force.
Yeah, and I really think the interesting thing about energy and renewable energy is that every market is different and every environment is different. And so I think each marketplace sort of has to evaluate its needs
True.
and its abilities. And Germany is definitely a great example of a country that has really exceeded the sort of global benchmarks for moving in the direction of renewable energy. And I'm excited to see the report. So thank you for
So
offering.
let's look at you for a minute.
Okay.
So Air Force Academy,
Yes.
law school at Northeastern, and then a master's in renewable energy at University of Wisconsin in Madison, and then here.
Well,
What did I miss?
okay. Well, most recently I was teaching at the University of San Francisco in San Francisco,
Okay.
and I spent my first 2 years as a law professor there, and it was a wonderful place. I primarily have focused on teaching business associations and international development, and I've been writing a lot about renewable energy and also things like fracking. The focus of my scholarship has really been on risk in development. And
fracking.
so
First, you've been supporting fracking. You've been advocating for it.
She's
you
been
know,
studying it.
I've been writing about it, evaluating the options and the risks associated with it.
And there are many.
Just a few, and that's another show, right? We can
Yes,
we can talk
it is,
about.
yes.
But when I heard about the opportunity to come here, where there's so much happening in energy and environment, of course I couldn't deny the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you know, my prediction is you're going to be right in the middle of it. You know, as the person who creates the lawyers are going to go out into the community and who are going to facilitate, knock wood, hopefully,
Right.
This whole process.
Right.
You're going to, you know, spawn a whole new, you know, group of expertise that's going to have an effect on things.
Definitely. And, you know, we're hearing from the community, and again, I've only been here for 3 months, so I've been doing a lot of interviews and meeting people, but we're hearing from the various aspects of the energy community that they would love our students to be engaged as young lawyers and even as students in what's happening in energy. And so we're trying to connect students with those jobs, but also provide them with the skills to engage those jobs in a meaningful way.
Let me ask you, in your days in law school, when you were a student, did they have any energy courses? I'm thinking back.
Right.
Energy was just something you complained about at the gas pump back when I was in law. I remember this was back in the time when there were great lines. And,
It was right after Marbury versus Madison, wasn't it?
I won't get in the middle of that one.
were there any courses in your law school?
Energy regulation
Oh, yeah?
would be a
Okay.
key sort of class around energy, but I think now there's so much happening even within the regulatory environment. But I practiced at a large law firm a couple years in Boston and then a year in Tokyo.
We missed that. We missed that.
We
on my
missed that.
little
So
biography.
filling in the gaps a little bit, but I was a project finance lawyer. And so what that meant is that I worked with clients to build large energy plants. And we did anything from oil and gas to renewable wind,
Wow.
wind and
So
wind developments.
important, that kind of thing, you know,
Yeah.
to enable us to marshal the capital,
Mhm.
and deploy the capital, document the capital, negotiate the deals.
Yeah,
We need that kind of expertise.
definitely.
I went to law school in 19.
Was it in
I was
19?
going to make it up, but I won't make it up. I'll tell you real. I went to law school between 1962 and 65. Later on, I went to the tax program at NYU.
Okay.
But there were no energy courses at
No.
all. In fact, I would say there were no environment
Right,
courses either. you
right.
know.
Yeah.
If things have changed, you know.
They do, and I still think you have to piece together the course package that makes sense for you. Even now, secure transactions is something that you would take. So learning about how to actually take an interest in a property as a lender, that's a class that is key to understanding how energy transactions work, but you wouldn't necessarily know that at the outset. And bankruptcy, of course, we've seen the ups and downs of the energy industry. There are energy-specific aspects of that. That's also a class that would be helpful in understanding.
So this
energy.
actually raises an interesting question.
Okay.
Okay. So we're at a cocktail party.
Okay.
Okay. And I was, young lawyer, and he says, I'm practicing over at XYZ firm, and you always say, what are you practicing in? Okay. So do you want to generate this young lawyer to answer the question, I'm an energy lawyer? Or do you want to, sort of treat him as a general corporate business lawyer who can handle it all the way? And energy is only part of it. I mean, ideally, will his identity be an energy lawyer, or will energy be part of another identity?
Wow, that's a really, really tough question.
We never promised you a rose garden.
I know. I think we want to have expertise. We want to develop expertise.
You'd rather have him say, I'm an energy lawyer. I follow it wherever it goes. I do whatever is necessary. I believe in it. It is my cause, and I characterize myself as an energy lawyer. C'est ça, c'est tout.
So I think it's helpful to have expertise and to be able to say that you have a deep knowledge and understanding of what it means to practice in a certain field. But I don't think it's mutually exclusive with sort of the generalist. And I think someone who practices in energy knows how to draft contracts. They know administrative law. They understand corporate law. So they have a breadth already, but their expertise, their knowledge of an industry, their knowledge of a field is really in energy.
So if he came over and said, I'm an energy lawyer, that would be okay. After all, remember, this is a cocktail party.
Okay, yes. So everyone's trying to impress everyone.
There you go. All right, we're going to take a short break. Shalanda Baker, Associate Professor in Law, Associate Director of the Environmental Law Program and the Energy Law Program at William S. Richardson School of Law, and my co-host, who's also a lawyer. Okay, fair is fair. In here, Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy. Oh, and the title of the program, which I didn't mention before, is Energy Law Comes of Age at UH Manoa. We'll be right back.
Aloha, my name is Carlos Juarez, and I host Global Connections here on the ThinkTech broadcast series. We broadcast live every Thursday from 2 o'clock and also on Olelo 54. Please make sure to tune in and join us. We'll see you there.
This is Alice Lee Hagan, host of ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. My show here at ThinkTech Hawaii is every Thursday from 3 to 4 in the afternoon. I bring in interesting guests from Hawaii, the mainland, and hopefully international guests in the future. Do join us on Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. Aloha.
Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy, talking about energy law and how it is coming of age at Manoa, with Shalanda Baker, who is an associate professor of law and associate director of the environmental law program and the energy law program at William S. Richardson School of Law. So one question that begs out of all of that is, you're associate director.
Yes.
Who's the director?
Well, so I am the associate director of the environmental law program, but I'm the director of our new energy law program.
Okay, that makes you on top of that one. Okay. Good.
Yes, so
Great.
I can call the shots in that regard.
Okay. So, and then the next question comes is the energy program part of the environmental law program, and is there a plan to make it separate?
So we are really in the developmental stages right now, and so right now we are certainly under the umbrella of the environmental law program, and lots of our graduates who work in energy know that the environmental law program is sort of a way to engage our students. As we grow, we do anticipate that it will be a standalone program with, well, at the moment we're also in the process of developing course offerings as well. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, Shalanda, that students want this. I mean, we live in a time, you know, you gotta be respectful of your market, and your market is the students, and what they want helps you determine the courses and all that. Students want environmental law. They want to live lives in environmental law. They want to advance their cause in environmental law. And in fact, I remember an interesting comment made by one of our moderators in a program a couple months ago, where he said that in predicting the result in the election, he said you have to look at the electorate, not the students, but the electorate. And he said, you know, increasingly there are people who have come here to Hawaii, recent arrivals but are old enough to vote, who have come here, and they've come because they like the environment. They may be retirees, who knows what. And because they like the environment, they have an orientation toward improving, or at least retaining, you know, the pristine quality of the environment. And as an element of the electorate, they're a more and more powerful force because, you know, they don't want to do development. This is an interesting dichotomy. They don't want to do development, they want to do environment, and that's what they're here for, and they stay. And so the electorate is swinging in that. The needle is moving toward environmental, you know, advocacy. And so I suspect that there's a similar kind of feeling among students in general, and especially law students, because a law student is a student who wants to actually go out and change things that an ordinary student can only complain about.
Well, so there are a few things to say on that point. First, our environmental law program has attracted students for many, many years, and is certainly one of our flagship programs at the law school, and students love it. They've loved it for many years. They're excited about coming here to do environmental law.
The school is the leader.
Yes.
And that program is a leader.
Absolutely. It's a nationally ranked program, and it's certainly, the reputation precedes it. On the energy front, of course, we are just now developing this program, but today I was sitting in a room with almost a dozen law students, mainly first-year law students, who were all talking about energy law, and they were all talking about their own perspectives on how they could make a difference. So we had people who want to work on the regulatory side, want to work in private companies and in the solar industry, folks who want to litigate complex issues related to energy. And the folks who would be drawn to our program would be a diverse set of individuals who don't necessarily want to help the state move into the renewable energy realm, but just want to do some of the really complex and fun things that are associated with energy. So it's hard to say what the leaning of the program would be, but our goal would be to prepare students to be able to work in every aspect of energy and to come out as a Richardson grad, which I think is a very specific type of lawyer. So one who is conscious of the complexity of being in this place, Hawaii, so Native Hawaiian rights and all of those other aspects of practicing here would be on their minds.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is a step more complex than environmental law, which is very complex anyway, I mean, especially in Hawaii. You know, why call it the Aloha State? Why don't we call it the Energy State?
We can make,
I don't think that would be too popular.
I don't, yeah. I'm new here, so I can't
No
make any
comment.
statements. Exactly.
But you know what? Environmental law has certainly been a favorite,
Mm-hmm.
at UH and among students in general, environmental issues. And I think that people take the position mostly of protecting the environment, like those newcomers. But it's much more sophisticated and different when you go into energy as a specialty, because sometimes you're actually in favor of representing development in contradistinction to environment.
Right.
Sometimes there's this.
Right.
And so it's not just as simple as saying we're here to protect the environment. We're here to protect, depending how they feel, we're here to protect energy. That's different.
I agree, and I also think renewable energy itself is a complex issue. There are ways in which renewable energy development even can affect the environment and can affect society and communities in ways that are unanticipated. So that's the sort of complexity I think I would want our students to graduate with an understanding of.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying before the show, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of players involved. Ray and I run into them in the context of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, and it's not just, it's dynamic.
Right.
It's not just the regular suspects. It's the regular suspects changing every time you look. It's like a Shakespearean stage. With the players coming on and off all the time. And as they come on and off, it changes. It goes this way and then that way. So I guess the thing to understand, for a student going into a program like this is, as you said, you got to know a little about bankruptcy. Some of these companies are going to go bankrupt. You got to know about regulation, and this big deal regulation. You got to know about legislation and drafting statutes, because we're in a transformation. There's going to be a lot of statutes. There are a lot of statutes. And on and on and on. You got to know purchase power agreements, but you also have to know how to stop a project in court.
Right, right.
So.
And I'll just add one. You're going to have lawyers who understand the technology.
Yes.
And lawyers don't generally come up through a technical
Present company
background.
excluded. Yeah.
Well, and of course your education at the academy was much more technical than most law students that show up at law school. So I think getting them to understand, how you get the lights to come on, because that's going to be a big factor in our immediate future, and in terms of who's going to be in charge of making the lights come on, who's going to sell the power, who's going to sell the services, what kind of services do you need, how does the PV situation fit into it, how do batteries fit in, and you've got to understand the technology in order to apply the law.
Which are changing. Technologies are all changing.
They are.
We've seen that at this table.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think more than any other generation, the current generation of law students is well prepared to engage in that dynamic world. As far as the substantive knowledge, we need to shore that up. We need to get them to a place to be able to have some of that technical expertise around these issues. But creativity, I think, will also serve.
It will. It will, because the old way won't work anymore, and it's got to be we've got to help move the regulatory process and the utilities and the customers in a new direction, and it's going to be new for everybody.
Yes.
So that's the exciting part, but it's also going to require a lot more people that are versed in the law and understand the technology.
Right.
So we have talked at this table and otherwise over the past several years about leadership in energy, but it strikes me that a person who is an energy lawyer can be a leader in energy, should be a leader in energy, even though he may have duties to clients and all that, but he can, with that knowledge, he can actually affect change. So it's a great opportunity here in the state of clean energy.
Can I ask, where exactly are you in the process of setting up the course? Is it just starting? Is
So-
it?
Hold your answer.
I'm sorry.
Hold your
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
Because
I'll
we'll
hold my
take a
question.
break.
All right.
I'm really giving you an
Stay
opportunity
tuned, right?
to think through that question.
Okay.
Okay, that's Shalanda Baker, Associate Professor of Law, Associate Director of the Environmental Law Program, and Director of the Energy Law Program at UH Manoa in the William S. Richardson School of Law. And Ray Starling, here we are in Hawaii, the state of clean energy, talking about how energy law is coming of age at UH Manoa. We'll be right back.
Aloha, this is Martin Despang, co-host of the Urban Transcendence Show by Alejandra Yamashita and Martin Despang. And me being an architect and an educator in architecture, I'm really interested in that we make our urban environment here in downtown Honolulu as exciting, invigorating, and challenging, beautiful as our wonderful paradise natural environment. We're going to bring in guests from a diversity of areas that help us to learn how we can achieve that goal that shouldn't be that hard to reach. So we look very much forward to see you then. Thank you.
Okay, we're back, we're live. We're here with Shalanda Baker and Ray Starling talking about how energy law is coming of age at William S. Richardson School of Law in a special new program. And before we left this exciting discussion, Ray had proposed a question, but we think we ought to have him repeat it in a very brief manner, and then Shalanda can answer it.
Okay. I'd like to ask what your current situation is. I know you're planning this course. Is it in existence? Are there students in the course now? Or is it something that you're putting together for the next semester?
Right. So, great question. We are in the process of developing a curricular plan for the entire program. And we sort of see the launch of the program being next fall, with a course being offered called Renewable Energy and Climate Change. And so Hawaii...
Kind of begs the question, doesn't it?
It does. And so the course would very much draw upon what's happening in real time here in Hawaii and many of the issues that we see being played out. And so that's one example, but many of the courses that we've already been talking about, bankruptcy, legislative drafting, administrative law, are already sort of a part of what we would see as the energy package, but additional offerings would be a course on traditional energy regulation, a course on the military and energy. I mean, the military has played a role here in Hawaii, but also has some really interesting initiatives happening with respect to microgrids and renewable energy development.
Experimenting with ocean energy technology right now. Yeah.
Yes, and so we also, and I mean, the options are limitless in terms of the types of courses that we could offer. But again, the core courses would be around regulation, transactional, actually. I could see us offering a course on project finance. How do you draft a power purchase agreement? How do you engage with the diverse sets of stakeholders around the table? And I feel that we're so fortunate here in Honolulu to have a cadre of folks who would love to participate. Doug Kodaga is someone you mentioned earlier, who has been so terrific in helping me kind of navigate the energy landscape, has taught at UH in the past. I know he would be willing to do that again. We have one of our graduates who is at Blue Planet Foundation, Richard Walsgrove, who has been fantastic and also teaches. So as soon as we sort of get our arms around the program, which is happening again as we speak, I think we'll have a better idea of what players within the community can be engaged. And if you are interested, let me know. Please contact me. I'd love to hear from you as well. So.
Okay, there's one.
Okay, great.
There's another.
We'll sign you both up then.
No, I think you're going to have a rich resource base to. The hard part is going to be, I guess, limiting what you want to teach, especially in that first semester, because there's so much going on. If you did nothing but just try to follow what is actually going on, you'd be overwhelmed.
I'm experiencing that.
Understood.
Right.
Well, you know, sitting in that chair about a month ago was John Jubinski. John Jubinski is an elder member of the bar. He's part of our HSBA program, which we call the 3D program. That stands for 3 digits. And if you have 3 digits, then you're less than 1,000 in your bar number. Okay, and we're going through all the old guys here and old girls. I mean, some of them are very old. And they talk about nostalgia things that happened way back when in the 50s and the 60s. It's great. You know, it's their last great chance to make a public statement about those guys who gave them a hard time way back when. Okay, so one of them is John Jubinski, who is a very articulate and forceful lawyer always in his career. He sat in that chair, in Ray's chair, and he said, you know, he had a beef with UH Law School. It was a beef. And what was it? It was a little rant. He made a little rant. He said, sometimes the Supreme Court of the state, dead wrong. Dead wrong. And he wanted to see law review articles, and he wanted to see public commentary on that coming from the law school. Because we all know, you know, that the Supreme Court is sometimes dead wrong, but we don't say anything. And so the mantle of responsibility falls on the law school, according to him. He said he wanted to see more articles, more criticism, more commentary about some of those bad decisions, or good, as the case may be. So I think you actually have another role altogether of saying, well, the PUC did this and that, and we looked at their opinion, it wasn't so good, and they should have done this and that instead, or the Supreme Court, or any of the players on the Shakespearean stage. You can make commentary, and you can say whether it's consistent with the law or good policy. You know, you are in a great spot to actually affect change.
I feel so fortunate to be here, and I mean, if I could just grab the table and, you know, shout, it would be wonderful, but this is such an amazing time to be here in Hawaii. And we've been talking about the first 2 components of the program, but there's a third. So the first 2, I would say, are the curriculum development piece and the jobs piece. We've spent a lot of time talking about that. But the third piece is one that I'm really also working on, which is the policy aspect. We have technology that's going gangbusters. We have a lot of advocacy within the various constituent groups around the state. So the solar industry, Native Hawaiian community. We have so many different constituencies that are in the energy conversation, but there has not been a cohesive sort of policy perspective on this.
You're not going to find any disagreement around this table on that point.
And so I think the role of the law school, the role of an academic institution is to really help to inform the policy discussion. And I'm so excited to be a part of that.
Well, let me I hear a voice. I want to tell you what the voice is saying. Is,
yes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Energy Committee of the State Senate, my name is Professor Shalanda Baker.
Yes.
And I'm here to give you some testimony about policy. I'll give you some advice based on what we learn at the law school and what we read at the law school and what we write at the law school. Okay, boys, this is what you got to do.
Well, I understand you
could be there.
I know. I understand there's a legislative session coming up very soon.
January 16th. Yeah.
And those are fun, from what I understand.
Fun. Okay, it's fun. If you're an observer. Yes. But I mean, it's just another real great possibility for you.
It is, you know, and I think with respect to, I mean, so first of all, I see the program as really being in service to the community. And I, of course, have my own work that I've done over the years on risk and on indigenous rights and on development. So that's a separate bucket. But I really do want the program to be useful to the community. So if that means giving testimony, if that means doing policy papers, kind of analyzing and evaluating the best approach to rate making in the state, then that's something we're really excited to do. You mentioned leadership, and you mentioned the energy lawyer as a leader. I see our role within the UH community as being able to consolidate all of our numerous resources across disciplines. I mean, we have H&EI that has been doing fantastic technology-driven work, and we also have folks in the urban planning department at UH who have been doing amazing work. But I think law has been the missing aspect of that. And how do you actually animate those plans? How do you link the technology into a policy framework that incentivizes that type of integration? So that's what I'm excited about, and that's the cutting edge stuff. That's what got me here from San Francisco, you know, to do this type of really exciting work.
Animation. Write that down. That's what we need. Animation.
Oh, to animate a
Who are you
framework.
talking to? Oh, the people there. Oh, I got you.
It's true. I mean, you know, we need to wake up on some of these issues and realize that we got to make some progress. Time is a wasting. You know, I mean, people get lulled into what, $75 a barrel of oil, and then they stop thinking about it, and everybody, you know, sort of backs off the issue. We need to have a policy that is, you know, internally driven, and we have to be focused on it all the time. And you could be, I suspect you will be, at the center of that. So, but tell us more about the sort of the educational experience that you want to create for these kids who are willing to commit.
Right. So the educational experience would involve this, a suite of options. And you know, you mentioned that we might have too many offerings. I want to have a diverse set of offerings around energy, so that a student who has an interest, whether they're in the environmental law program or in our business concentration, can take a set of classes and graduate from UH with a concentration in energy. And what that would mean is that they could hit the ground running in many of these conversations. Now, young lawyers, as we all know, need to learn so much, but they would at least have a framework and the vocabulary to be able to participate in what's happening. And so, to me, that means that, again, they would learn the transactional aspects of energy. They would learn the sort of social and environmental impacts of energy development, and they would also learn the regulatory aspects of energy.
So you give them practicum, you know what I mean? You give them an actual deal to negotiate, like a moot negotiation?
That's a great example of a project to do in that transactional class. And
I'll one-up you on that.
okay.
Please. You always do, Ray.
I think you need internships. I think you need
Great
internships
idea.
where you could place an intern over in the Public Utilities Commission. I'm not speaking for them, but I think it would be great if you were a lawyer and you wanted to do regulatory law, to go spend some time with Tom Gorak, the chief counsel over there, and figure out what, you know, if that's really where you want to be on the regulatory side, or you can come to our office and decide if you want to be in the energy efficiency side. You could work.
Is that an offer from?
That's I think it's a great
all on
idea.
the record.
Okay, absolutely.
And you know, work for the utility
Right.
or work for a PV firm.
Yes.
You could embed your students. I mean,
You
you're
could.
absolutely
You
right.
really
It's a great
could. You
idea.
could sprinkle them
And
all
people
over the
would
place.
take them willingly, because I mean, everybody would sort of agree with what we're talking about, how they're the future of
Right.
energy here, and they would learn, and the organizations would learn from them, and it would sort of be a binding effect to bring everyone together. You know?
I think, you know, I came here in June before I even moved here to give a talk before the natural resources section of the bar, and one of the sort of needs expressed there was to create an ecosystem, right, of young lawyers. I mean, it's sort of what you said early on, Ray, of folks who are able to do this work. And if we can seed our students in the organizations, then we could create that ecosystem, and we wouldn't have our biggest players outsourcing the legal services in order to get deals done. We wouldn't have, you know, the PUC.
Right here.
Yeah, we could do it. We could do it, and I think there's student interest, there's interest in the community. The effort now is to institutionalize this and make it a systematic kind of process.
And make good law, because ultimately that's what this is about. That generation you're creating will make good law,
Absolutely.
will allow us to do the transformation with a minimum of aggravation.
Right. And this is
And animate.
animate. This is one of the few areas in modern law where you have an opportunity to be tremendously creative. And I think students are hungry to be creative. They want to participate. They want to innovate. They want to change the world. That's why people go to law school. And whether that means they're changing it at HECO or changing it at the PUC or changing it from a solar company, they're excited about what it means to practice in this dynamic time. So, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I love
So
it.
are we. We love having you here.
Thank you.
In fact, before Ray and I get involved as teachers, maybe we should go through the program as students.
There you go.
We'd love to have you. I'm sure our dean would also love to have you.
So Ray, I always give Ray an opportunity to summarize our discussion. Go for it, Ray.
Well, I will say what I said before we started the show. I think you've come at a good time. I think that there's so much going on in the energy world, and it's now blending in with sustainability, long-term sustainability for the islands, and I think there's so many things out there. I wish I were just now starting out and know what I now know. That would be a great place to be, because it's just an exciting world out there that I think will keep your classes full of people interested in energy law.
Thank you.
Shalanda, if I was one of those people out there, and I was interested in participating, in this program, where would I go? What would I look at? Who would I call?
So you would contact me. You would reach out to me. I'm available. You can find me very easily on the UH website at the law school, and I'm always available by email. My phone number is also listed. Unfortunately, I don't have it memorized yet, but do reach out. I'm available. I would love to meet with you. I would love to meet with you if you're a potential student or if you're someone in the community that is interested in what we're doing.
Shalanda Baker, Associate Professor of Law, Associate Director of the Environmental Law Program, and Director of the Energy Law Program, the brand new Energy Law Program at UH Manoa William S. Richardson School of Law here on Hawaii, the state of clean energy. And we're talking about, me and Ray, talking about energy law comes of age at UH Manoa with Shalanda Baker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aloha.
So good to have you.
Aloha.
Thank you. Good to be here.